For more than 600 years, a discrete thread has run through British commercial life. The Royal Warrant, an unassuming line of heraldic script that tells the world a company has earned the custom, and therefore the confidence, of the sovereign. Its power endures precisely because it is never sold, never marketed, never traded. It is bestowed only when a firm has quietly proved, over a minimum of 5 consecutive years, that its workmanship is exemplary, its sourcing ethical, its finances transparent and its service utterly reliable. From Tudor spice merchants to Victorian gun makers, Edwardian cockletiers to 21st century rain jacket innovators, the Warrant has remained a golden thread stitching together crown, craft and consumer trust. Now that thread has been handed to Catherine, Princess of Wales, making her the first royal woman in more than a century to wield it, and industry insiders are bracing for a commercial gale force known already as the Catherine Catalyst. Why the decision matters. Until this year, just 3 living people could sign the warrant scrolls: King Charles III, Queen Camilla, and until his father's death, the late Duke of Edinburgh. When Charles decided to expand that circle to include the Prince and Princess of Wales, he did more than lighten his own workload. He signaled a conscious redistribution of royal influence at the very moment Britain is trying to revitalize domestic manufacturing, reassure post-Brexit trading partners, and position itself as a global hub of green, ethical production. Charles has long championed slow fashion, regenerative farming and architectural conservation, but Catherine brings an entirely different booster rocket, one whose impact has been measured in real-time data every time she steps outside the palace gates. Economists at Brand Finance and consultancy Fashion Snoops estimate that the Kate effect, the phenomenon in which items she wears or endorses sell out within hours, has injected more than £2 billion into UK retail and export revenue since her 2011 wedding. Whether it was the Zara sundress she donned at a polo match, £39.99, sold out worldwide, the Alexander McQueen coat reworn at the coronation concert, or the Holland Cooper blazer she layered over supermarket-priced jeans, the pattern is the same: a spontaneous surge of online searches, followed by empty shelves, followed by long waiting lists and, crucially, repeat purchases from international buyers newly acquainted with the label. By allowing Catherine to grant warrants, Charles is effectively harnessing that gravitational pull for the wider benefit of British industry rather than letting it remain a happy side effect of media coverage. A brief history of female warrant holders. The last Princess of Wales to hold this authority was Mary of Teck, later Queen Mary, in 1910. Before her, Queen Victoria leveraged the warrant to knit the empire together. British silk weavers in Spitalfields, tea blenders in Calcutta, train engine manufacturers in Cape Town all clamoured for her endorsement. During the 20th century, however, warrant granting became a largely male preserve. King George VI, Prince Philip, the Prince of Wales, as Charles then was, and finally King Charles steered the process, while royal women such as Queen Elizabeth II focused on ceremonial patronages, garden parties and state visits. Restoring the power to a princess is therefore more than a bureaucratic tweak. It is a gender reset that places a modern, working mother at the helm of a network that touches 800 companies and 14,000 jobs. How the scheme will unfold. The transition will happen in 2 calibrated phases. Phase 1, Renewal. Companies that currently hold warrants from Charles or Camilla may apply, this summer, to have their appointment renewed under William or Catherine. They must submit evidence of continuous supply, sustainability metrics, and staff welfare standards equal to, or better than, the levels that first won them the honor. Those that pass inspection will be listed publicly in early 2025, allowed to swap the royal cipher on their packaging from C3R, or CR, to the new warrant holder's crest. Phase 2, New entrants. Firms with no prior warrant history, often startups in green tech, ethical textiles, or digital preservation, can apply from spring 2025. Their dossiers are thicker: audited accounts, carbon footprint data, DE&I strategies, provenance of raw materials, plus written references from at least 5 independent clients. Palace warrant officers then visit factories, studios and warehouses incognito before recommendations reach William and Catherine's joint signing session. Successful applicants should begin displaying the portcullis or Prince of Wales feathers by late 2026. Each warrant runs for up to 5 years. If a company changes ownership, moves production offshore, or fails a surprise sustainability spot check, the warrant lapses immediately, an outcome retailers dread. Likely beneficiaries of the Catherine crest: heritage fashion and textiles. Johnstons of Elgin cashmere, already on her school-run repertoire. Harris tweed weavers pivoting to traceable wool and natural dyes. Cambridge Satchel Company, whose bags she gifted to teachers during lockdown. Jewelry and accessories. Kiki McDonough, supplying her citrine drops and green amethyst studs. Robinson Pelham, creators of her Aspen diamond starbursts. Catherine Zoraida, whose gold fern hoops sell out after every wear. Early years and education suppliers. Sustainable toy makers Big Jigs and La Toy Van. Child psychology publishers like Nosy Crow, tied to her Shaping Us campaign. Climate-positive homewares. Cornwall-based St. Evil candles, plastic-free refills. Natural mat mattresses, organic Devon wool. Health and sports innovation, aligned with Williams' Earthshot ethos. British-built e-bikes for active commuting. AI-driven prosthetics labs linked to Invictus veterans. Commercial ramifications. A 2023 Oxford economics study showed that 68% of overseas consumers are more likely to buy a product carrying a royal warrant, rising to 84% in Commonwealth markets, where the crest is recognized instantly. Luxury goods analyst Luca Solori predicts a halo export effect worth £400 million across 5 years once Catherine's first batch of warrants matures. The benefit is not confined to global megabrands. Small family firms, from Worcestershire sauce makers to Welsh slate quarry sculptors, have doubled staffing within 18 months of gaining the emblem. Digital retailers will likewise cash in. When Catherine granted her inaugural early years babybank visit to Scotland, Google searches for the featured knitwear rose 220% in 24 hours. Imagine multiplying that spike by the legal right to print the princess's cipher on every e-commerce thumbnail. Inside the palace strategy. Courtiers insist the move is not about celebrity branding, but values alignment. Charles wants the warrant program to accelerate Britain's greening drive. William envisions a pipeline of circular economy exemplars. Catherine hopes to champion makers who nurture children's development, women's entrepreneurship and local craft clusters. All three objectives dovetail into what a senior aide calls regenerative soft power, exporting not only goods, but British standards in fairness and planetary stewardship. Behind the scenes, the Warrant Secretariat is already compiling a color-coded matrix of Catherine's sartorial data over 13 years, fabrics, ateliers, repeat wear frequencies, philanthropic tie-ins. This informs shortlists, so that her public wardrobe eventually mirrors her warrant roster. A virtuous feedback loop that could turn a chevron-stitched coat, or a recycled silver bracelet into a nationwide case study on ethical excellence. Cultural and constitutional resonance. For historians, the symbolism is delicious. In 1610, King James I wrote that his court's consumption should nourish the roots of England's manufacture, effectively birthing the warrant idea. Over 4 centuries later, James's descendant entrusts that same lever to a future queen whose university degree was in art history, whose middle-class upbringing prized frugality, and whose digital footprint commands more millennial engagement than any other royal save Harry and Meghan. The circle of patronage grows wider yet more personal. Meanwhile, the gender dimension cannot be overstated. In an era of global conversation about women's economic agency, Catherine becomes a literal kingmaker for businesses, her signature on a parchment can vault a mother-founded toy startup, or a female-run tailoring house into a £100 million valuation. The monarchy is subtly recasting chivalric privilege as female empowerment by decree. What happens next? Autumn 2024. Stakeholder workshops in Staffordshire, East London and the Scottish borders brief existing warrant holders on updated social impact benchmarks. Catherine guests on a Royal Foundation podcast explaining her vision for child-centered commerce. January 2025. First renewal list published. Predicted 120 to 150 companies. Media spotlight on how many switched to net zero supply chains. Spring 2025. Palace opens digital portal for new applicants. AI-assisted carbon calculators and diversity dashboards integrated. Late 2026. Public debut of the Catherine Crest at an export showcase in Singapore alongside Commonwealth entrepreneurs, symbolically linking warrant tradition with future markets. In sum, handing the Princess of Wales the keys to Britain's most time-honoured commercial endorsement programme is equal parts reverence and revolution. It honours centuries of protocol while acknowledging the reality that, in 2024, a single photograph of Catherine in a restyled blazer can sway consumer sentiment faster than any press release. The warrant now gains a modern guardian whose currency is authenticity, rewears and child-centric advocacy. British businesses, whether they forge silver teaspoons in Sheffield, upcycle ocean plastics into trainers in Cornwall, or code climate risk software in Cambridge, are lining up for a signature that could alter their trajectory, and, just possibly, Britain's economic narrative. In the process, the monarchy proves that its oldest levers of influence can still pivot towards the future, one elegant crest at a time. ChatGPT